What is up, guys, and welcome back to another F1 2020 career mode video. I can't believe it. 3 days in a row. Something must be seriously wrong with me. But in any case, here we are for another episode. Check out the previous one if you haven't already, that being the US Grand Prix, a race which was completely turned on its head thanks to the weather change. But yeah, here we are for a new episode, this time the Mexican Grand Prix. Racetrack which I tend to flourish at. We had a good bout of points come in, both on the circuit and off the circuit, resource points and championship points regardless. So momentum could be building at this team, which is lovely to see. So in terms of the path that we want to take this car in terms of development, isn't too much we can do. We've got a couple of minor upgrades we could do to the aero, but in the end we decided to go down the path of brakes. And that is to counteract the power upgrade, which we are going to target for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I think we did that last episode. So, that'll hopefully balance out the car quite a bit. Now, heading into this one, we have the facility upgrade for the simulator. Go ahead for George Russell, boosting his pace to 100 pace, meaning he is now possibly the fastest Formula 1 driver in history. And more so, he's ranked 92, which is pretty crazy. We've still got more upgrades to do to the facility to boost our second driver stats, which is mad. But anyway, that is the championship standings. We lead by 8 points, 7 points. I'm good at maths, clearly, over Valtteri Bottas. I think we're still about 30-odd points away from Mercedes. And so, we need to continue to cut into their lead if we can, and that all starts here in Friday practice, setting up the car well, earning more resource points, and maybe we could push for maybe one final upgrade heading into Abu Dhabi potentially. We'll have to wait and see, but practice went pretty well. Clear by 1.7 seconds. Clearly there was absolutely no sandbagging on my side of the garage. Topping out that session, nice bout of resource points. That's about 900 there. And that'll take us to $1.5 grand, which is crazy. But anyway, we're going to gear up for qualifying now. We're going to put basically at this point of the season, we're just utilizing whatever engine components are our freshest and getting the most out of the performance that way. But anyway, it's time for qualifying. What lies in wonder at this racetrack, I wonder. Here at the Mexican Grand Prix, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully there is no bottle for me today. I will not be doing a repeat of USA. We're going to make sure we can get through cleanly into qualifying 3 and then go from there. And Q1, fast forwarding a little bit towards the end of the session, just trying to make the most of the track when it's at its best. And we're going to go out at the end and hopefully just utilize one set of tires to make it through to the next session. Coming up to the end of the third sector now, and this feels like what has been a pretty good lap. We come across the line, do a 12.2, which actually puts us top of the table. So, very nice start to qualifying. Often I kind of start slowly and then I build up my pace as I go through. Q2, I was 2/10 off on my Q1 time, so dropped to P4. George Russell dips into the 11s for the first time this race weekend, and he is looking pretty formidable. But it looks like we might have a slight advantage over Mercedes in this race weekend. I do believe we're like basically level with Mercedes now. We did upgrade heading into this race, but it's so nip and tuck between the two of us, and I very much look forward to the battle between myself and the Works Mercedes team this race weekend and the following race weekends. We've got 2 more to go after this one, Brazil and Abu Dhabi, to see out season 2. We come across the line to finish our first lap in Q3. It is a 12.1. And that is my personal best of the whole race weekend. But out of nowhere, you can see Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen occupying the front row. And I've got to say, what bloody year is it? Because we haven't seen stuff like that since, 2017? When Max and Daniel locked out the front row here all those years ago. Or was it 2018? I don't know. I remember Max Verstappen was a certainty to get pole, but all of a sudden Daniel Ricciardo pulled it out of the bag in Q3 and Max was fuming, I think. But yeah, Q3, you can see this is our final lap of the session. We're purple to the first and second sector. We're up by, or we were up by a tenth, but we're losing a bit of time in this third sector, so much so that we lose all of the time, but we gain a little bit back out of the final corner. Up to the line, we do improve on our time. Where does it put us on the grid? It says third. It's now fourth, but then we go to the results screen, and it is indeed fourth place. So, okay. That is a shame. I felt like we could have got a little bit more out of that. We do jump Verstappen and Ricciardo. But unfortunately, we lose spots to George Russell and both of the Mercedes. So we're starting P4 in this Grand Prix. It's not the end of the world, but I would have preferred to be starting in front of both the Mercedes guys. We do need to get like a 1-2, I think, to really make myself feel a bit more comfortable about the championship prospects for the final couple of races. But either way, it's a good starting point. We are leading the drivers' standings. Constructors is what we really need to work on, and I just pray that nothing happens to George in these final 3 races, and we can really take the fight to Mercedes and the constructors. So here we go, Mexican Grand Prix. Let me know what you think is going to happen down in the comments, and let's get underway for the third to last race of Season 2 of my team.
Here we go then, it's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Dave. There's a real chance they could win the title today. So how do you think they'll handle the pressure?
I think as long as they keep their mind on the task and not its historical significance, they'll be just fine. This is a race just like any other. You do the best you can and accept that sometimes things are going to happen outside of your control. If they can approach today with that attitude, the pressure shouldn't be a problem.
We're still in with a chance to win the Constructors' title, so let's make this happen in the last 3 races.
Let's do just that, Jeff. Thank you very much for the G-Up for today's episode. Looking over there at the Mercedes crew, there's a very suspect character managing the team. I don't know if I should be happy about that or upset that I might be a traitor. Anyway, Mexican Grand Prix. For some reason, over the last few races, the commentary team have think every race we come to, they think I can wrap up the championship. It's still not the case. Maybe next episode if we have a good race today, but we can't wrap it up today. Just want to clarify that. 2 stops is on offer. Running the softs twice, medium once, and we're going to see if we can gun for the fast lap towards the end of the race for extra points, because why not? But here we go for the Mexican Grand Prix, third to last race of Season 2. Let's take the fight all the way to Mercedes. We get a nice start for the first time in my life. But the second phase wasn't that great, as you can see. Alexander Albon coming out of nowhere, overtaking me in a straight line. Maybe that was the wheel spin. But in any case, turn one, that's what I was meant to say. Contact. And we've lost our front wing on, I think, the Red Bull there. And it's a bit of a bittersweet start because we've got into P2 exactly where we need to be. We've got a Ricciardo in front of Lewis Hamilton. So that's a spanner in the works for the Mercedes guys, but there's also a spanner in the works for us as we've now got front wing damage, and that is going to compromise us for the rest of the Grand Prix. So, where do we go from here? I'm going to stay out for now because we've got the damage. I'm going to assess well, I'm trying to say anything other than damage, but I'm going to assess what the damage is, and we're going to go from there. If we're able to hold on to track position, then I don't see any reason why we should box. We'll just stay out until our recommended pit window lap. But here's the start. There was so much going on around me that I think I kind of just lost focus of Albon on my left-hand side. I was looking at Ricciardo a little bit, and that just happens sometimes. First corner, bit of a bottleneck, cars everywhere. I'm not perfect 100% of the time. That's just a minor mistake from me going in a little bit too deep. You can see I've actually this angle like shows it completely. I've just gone in too deep. I've gone into Albon's line, into his front wing, and knocked off my own end plate, which is very unfortunate. Thankfully, I didn't knock off his, and it's only my own race that I've affected. But there we go, we're in a P2. Despite the front wing damage, we were able to overtake 3 or 4 guys there in a turn 1, which was nice, but now we may lose all of those positions due to the lack of downforce. But we're going to march on as best we can. You can see Lewis Hamilton soaring past his teammate Valtteri Bottas. That is an interesting dynamic that is unfolding at Mercedes. You would think that they'd be pressing Valtteri for the championship, given that he is in the best position to do so. But looks like Mercedes are allowing their drivers to race, even if it is at the detriment of them winning a driver's title this year. But regardless, Hamilton is absolutely flying. You can see how much ground he made up through the middle sector. The high-speed S's, that's where I'm going to be absolutely slow relative to everyone else behind me. But we cut on to the next lap. This is not a replay. This is the next lap. Again, Hamilton. You can just see how fast he is, particularly the second half of the S's, where I've got a quick change of direction. How much time he gains out of that with momentum. He goes to the outside again into the stadium section. It's not going to work out for you there, fella. We've got a retirement. That is Sergio Perez, the Mexican, at his home race. Half the crowd will be streaming out of the grandstands now that their home hero is out of the race. But there's still a race up front here in P2. There's still a race for this championship, which is unfolding in front of your eyes here as Hamilton tries for the 3rd time in a row to go round the outside there. Might want to try something else there, son. You might want to try the inside. To be fair, I have been blocking off the inside just about every time, but Hamilton hasn't really been pursuing that overly aggressively, so we've been able to hold on to that pretty much. We've got great straight line speed. That's one thing we do have going for us. I'm running 2.6 wings this race weekend, which is allowing me to stay in this position. Even with DRS, Hamilton cannot overtake me. And this is before the major engine upgrade we've got coming for Brazil. So that could be very scary for Mercedes if they can't overtake us now. Maybe they're running high downforce, I don't really know. But regardless, we are creating a massive headache for Mercedes because me being slow is just backing them up into the cars behind, but it's also allowing George Russell to run away with this Grand Prix. It's almost guaranteeing his victory in this race, which is going to help us in the Constructors as well. So not only am I fighting for my championship, I'm fighting for George's and the team's championship as well by keeping it at bay. But as I say that, Hamilton gets up the inside into turn 1, soars up into P2, and now this race just got a little bit more complicated here on lap 10 as the pit window is now open. George Russell in for a very early stop. I'd prefer he stayed out a little bit longer and avoided some traffic, but he's desperate to come in now and get onto a new set of tyres. Valtteri Bottas follows him in onto the mediums. So anyone who stops early and rejoins behind traffic, that could be quite costly for their race. We are coming in on the next lap, are we? Yes, we are. Onto medium compound tyres. And we should have the pace over those who stopped the lap earlier. What I am going to do on this lap is I'm actually going to change the front wing. The pace hasn't been overly bad. We've been able to hold on to track position, but there's still so long to go in the race. 25 laps. I think we're better off just changing the wing and seeing if we can claw back the positions we lost or might lose in this pit stop. But you can see we rejoin on the circuit. We are going to be last. We're last out of everyone, which is a little concerning, I'm not going to lie. But thankfully we've got a fast car and we can claw our way back. I guess we did give the undercut to a couple of guys the lap previous, and we had the front wing change. So of course the track position isn't going to be great, but we'll be able to fight back from here. Thankfully we've got Albon right in front of us, so we were fighting in a turn 1. So it can't be that disastrous of a race if we're still in the realms of the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. But need to get a wriggle on now. We can see Charles Leclerc just a little bit up the road. We got a couple of cars in front of us who haven't made a stop in this race, and they're getting in the mix. Maybe the likes of Ocon and Gasly just up the road. So let's hopefully make some inroads on those guys. We go purple to the first sector. That is lovely to see. We've got Albon up next, and we might go for a dive here into the stadium section. We caught him napping, sneak up the inside, and that is P15. I don't know where we are effectively in this race. I'm thinking probably like top 6 or top 7 at this stage. I guess we'll just have to wait and see where everyone shakes up. There might be some fast cars who started on mediums outside the top 10 who might factor into this race, who we might need to worry about. But for the time being, I think the 2-stop is the way to go at this Mexican Grand Prix. Tire wear is pretty high. You know, it's you know, the tire deck is pretty high when we're doing 2 stops even at the end of season 2. So I enjoy this bit of strategy now. As you can see, we're getting a bit feisty here. Myself and Vettel trying to fight past Ocon, and Gasly just escaping up the road. We get squeezed off the circuit by Ocon. Absolutely no space there. We rejoin on the circuit, go round the outside of Ocon, get the nice exit, and we burst our way into P12. That's a descriptive word. I will take that. But yeah, there we go. Kind of squeezed a little bit, rejoin the circuit, round the outside of Ocon, who was just pinched on the inside. I'm guessing he's got older tyres, and we were able to force our way around the outside with a more flowing run. Thank you very much. Bottas is just up the road, fighting past Pierre Gasly. Leclerc is in the mix as well. So all these cars that are staying out or started on a harder compounded tyre are really making life difficult for those around me. We get around the outside of Vettel, weaving the wheel with happiness there. Next up is our championship rival, Valtteri Bottas. And he's making absolutely no progress in this traffic. Vettel is looking a little bit racy on the exit of the S's section. So even with a full front wing, I'm still a little bit weak there as we got Leclerc. I think Leclerc is going to be out of this Grand Prix. And with that, that could be the end of his championship campaign for Season 2 of this My Team Career Mode series. It is. This drops from a 3-man race for the championship down to a 2-man race. And I can't believe it. I can't believe what has happened to Ferrari in the last few races. They were one of the teams that were really punching above their weight in terms of like the R&D charts. They were right up there, getting race wins and being consistent here and there. And you know, myself, Marduk Motorsport and Mercedes, we've continued to upgrade over the summer break and beyond that, and we got to a point where we've just left them for dead. So too with Valtteri Bottas. We've left him for dead around the outside at the middle sector section. You can see I'm weaving the wheel with happiness again and showing you guys that we are running 110, because I know there will be some naysayers who think, oh yeah, he's turned the difficulty down to 50, hasn't he? No, this is 110, the hardest difficulty you can muster. That's just how good this car is right now and how dialed in we are to it with a good setup. But here's the move. We went in, Valtteri turned in quite early and braked early, and I took my normal racing line, got a much better exit around the outside, and we were able to make that work for us there. So, wow, that was very, very timely for us as we see more people make their way into the pit lane. The traffic is starting to open up for us now. We've got a clear run at Pierre Gasly on the start-finish straight. We're going to put it up into Rich here and go to the outside at turn 1. I like the outside of turn 1 here because it gives you the inside for the second part of the corner. And that is job done. You can do that on AI. It's a little bit more risky when you do it online, because when it comes to online, someone can just be an absolute twat to you and just go, oh, you know what? You're not having any space. You can go off into the AstroTurf there, mate. But that's the good thing about racing AI. They give you space. And I like to give them space too, when I can. Anyway, lap 19, and we are making a nice recovery of this. Everyone around us in the immediate vicinity is on soft compound tyres. We're on the mediums, and we've still yet to put the better tyre on towards the end of the race. So who knows where this race might go from here. We could easily get on the podium. Daniel Ricciardo is only 1.7 seconds off the road, and I'm assuming that he's going to go into soft compound tyres as well because he's on the mediums. But here's the battle up front. George Russell has somehow like lost a bit of ground to Lewis Hamilton. He's really making a charge back, is Lewis. So hopefully there's no problem for George Russell in this race. He did have a 6 or a 7 second lead over both of the Mercedes guys. Because of my problems at the start, I really hope he doesn't throw this one away. Tyre wear is at 40%. We will be coming in very soon for our final set of tyres, maybe in about 3 or 4 laps. George Russell is in, so too is Daniel Ricciardo, and that'll see them to the end of the Grand Prix. George Russell boxes for hard compound tyres. Why? Why, George? Why? Okay, so the reason why, by the way, Hamilton caught up to Russell is because Hamilton, in the middle stint of the race, went on to softs, and Russell was on mediums. I was anticipating that Russell was going to finish the race on softs, not go to the worst tyre available. When you're already doing a two-stop, George Russell, that makes absolutely no sense. You are... I think he's a Mercedes spy. I think Toto Wolff is paying him off with these crap strategies, trying to sabotage the team. We come in only a few laps later. George Russell, you could have easily stayed out the extra few laps, boxed for softs, and could have got a fastest up yourself and ran away with this race. But regardless, you put yourself under pressure, and now Hamilton is probably, looking at the mini-map, Hamilton's actually in front. Hamilton is leading this race. George Russell has thrown away a 7-second lead with clear air. How has he done that? And he's like 100 pace. 100 pace. Arguably the best car as well. George Russell, you are not doing yourself any favors today, son. But anyway, back to our race. Lap 28. We are in the slipstream of Daniel Ricciardo. I think this is possibly going to be a fastest lap attempt on this lap as we dive up the inside of our fellow countrymen into P4. Next up is Lance Stroll, only 1 second up the road. So it looks like we probably will get a podium. We get the DRS. And that's pretty timely as well because it just drags us ever closer to Lance Stroll. Have to hold up a little bit there through the stadium section, such as his lack of speed on the hard compound tyre. But we're going to get a nice punchy run onto the start-finish straight with some DRS. We set the fastest up of the Grand Prix, 1 minute 14.3. That will be an extra point for us at the end of this race. But because of the DRS, we get it on the start-finish straight, and we will get it on this next straight after the chicane, which could set us up well to go for another fastest lap. We're up by 4.5 tenths on this lap in particular, and this time around we actually don't have any traffic in front of us to really hold us up, so I think this will be an even faster lap of the Grand Prix. A bit of a wobble out of the final corner, up to the line. We dip into the 13s, and not by a little bit, by a lot. 113.4. Absolutely flying in this Grand Prix. One man who isn't is Valtteri Bottas. He is having another stinker in this Grand Prix. Look at him. He's in the middle sector behind a McLaren, a Red Bull, and an AlphaTauri. He is not in the points. What is going on in this championship? But anyway, it's the last lap of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is going to win, take the full complement of 25 points. George Russell has absolutely bottled this race. And for us, it's been a recovery drive after the damage at Turn 1. If not for the contact at Turn 1, I think we probably could have won this race. But regardless, it has been a marvellous recovery after front wing damage on lap 1. A podium.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today and the results speak for themselves.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
Well, there'll be celebrations on one side of the garage, not the other. Bottas is going to be mightily disappointed to massively drop the ball there. I don't know what happened to him. In the end, it's P12 for him, no points. I know he stopped early, probably got held up behind traffic. We know the Mercedes isn't great when following other cars, but that is something else. 30-odd seconds, 36 seconds off the lead of the race. I honestly have no words. That is horrific. Driver standings, we now lead by 23 points heading into the final 2 races of the season. So that means if we have a really good race in Brazil, if we can extend the margin by 2 points in that next race, we can win the championship at the next event, which is pretty darn crazy. In the constructors though, I feel like we have gained some small points on Mercedes, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 points, something like that. Getting a 2-3 for the team. Hamilton only getting 25 means that they lost about 10, 15 points. And the gap is now 12 to Mercedes. So this is entirely doable, both in the drivers and the constructors. It's going to come down to the final 2 races of this season, and I can't wait to get started. When you consider that when we go into Brazil, we're going to be carrying a major engine upgrade and potentially a brake upgrade as well. So, we could have the pace naturally over the Mercedes, and we could probably pull their pants down, literally. So, we'll have to see how it goes over the course of the next 2 races. I am fully prepared for an all-out battle with those guys. We don't know what upgrades they're going to bring. But it's Mercedes. We know that they're not going to go down without a fight. Cash-wise, nearly 10 million. So we spent 15 mil just like an episode or 2 ago. But we keep piling on the team goal bonuses. And it means that we're just able to build the cash reserves so quickly. We're definitely going to be able to afford George Russell at the end of the season. But if we so want to, we could go for an even higher profile driver if we want to. That is something that we'll need to consider for the future. But let me know down in the comments if you want me to sign someone else. I'm more than happy to keep George on board. He's been a very handy driver. Yes, he did drop the ball today, but it's hard to say whether that's his fault or the team's fault. I really wish the team would just open their eyes and see what I'm doing and then apply that to George's car, because it's just unfair. They're making him look like a mug. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. This could be a very, very tasty end to the season. It's going to go down to the wire. Marduk Motorsport versus Mercedes. Brazil is a good circuit for me. Abu Dhabi, not too bad either. Though you can get done for corner cutting there. But in any case, this is going to be a season to remember. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.